and welcome back to my series examining Missing 411, Western United States and Canada by the author David Paulides. Today we'll be looking at the Oregon chapter of the book. Let's just dive right in. Corwin Osborn, who was 45 years old at the time, went missing on Sunday, June 17th, 2001, from Three Sisters Wilderness, Oregon. He was in excellent physical condition and was visiting the area to hike the trails. He was last seen a little after 7 a.m. by another hiker on the South Sister Trail. Based on what he had purchased previously, he was carrying about a day's worth of food and water with him. Corwin was supposed to meet his father that evening at 9 p.m., but he failed to show up. A search was launched in the area with extensive air and ground resources that covered 150 square miles of the wilderness. He is still listed as a missing person to this day. For this case in particular, I had an interesting experience with my Freedom of Information Act request. Most areas either have an email to contact or a semi-automated system for you to submit your requests. In this instance, I requested the records via email. Then I was told that I needed to call the department. So I called the department and directly asked for records.
You have reached the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. We are proud to serve you. For all other inquiries, please press 0.
The short version is that I played some phone tag, and eventually, after a few days, I got into contact with somebody who could help.
My lieutenant told me that you had called in wanting some information on a Corwin Osborn case.
Yes, that's correct. I asked them about Corwin and was able to get some information that I think really shifts the perspective. I went with the most obvious question.
Well, here, first question. Is there foul play suspected in this case?
We do not suspect any, no.
Then I just went over the case as presented in the book to see if he had any comments or corrections. Disclaimer, I did misquote a section and stated that the trip was supposed to take 2 days and that he was supposed to meet his father the following day. Obviously, that's not what's actually in the book. So that is a correction that you'll hear the officer make in this next clip.
I'm not sure about the hiker at 7 a.m., but the rest of that is accurate. And it was actually the same, I believe they were supposed to meet the same night.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
He left in the morning, and Dad, I believe, was supposed to meet him at like 9 p.m. at Trailhead.
We then talked about the search itself, since normally David Paulides spends more time on the details of the search, and that wasn't as present in this case beyond the total scope. The officer explained that there were thousands of hours invested by the state, federal, and local resources.
So it's personnel from 26 state, county, and federal agencies logged 6,000 hours during this search.
Wow. That sounds very extensive.
Yeah, it was very, like I said, they were very thorough, and unfortunately, because of some of the steep mountainous terrain, I mean, there's areas you're just not going to get to safely. So
you physically cannot search everywhere.
Correct. And I mean, if you think about then and now, I mean, we didn't have the drone technology that we have now. I mean, some of those areas probably could have been searched now using drones, but we just didn't have that technology back then.
What was particularly interesting, though, was the insight the officer had into the local terrain.
As you know, though, some of the terrain up there is essentially not real safe or negotiable, which is why they brought in high mountain rescue teams in the first place. A lot of the terrain up there changes frequently, so like you get some rain or you get snow and melt off, and things are different than they were and become unstable, and so it's and I guess my understanding was that he was a pretty experienced hiker, well, he was kind of like an extreme hiker kind of guy, is my understanding.
Oh, okay.
But you know, you get up there in those areas where there's glaciers and all that stuff, and you slip and you're flying downhill into a crevasse or something. So it happens around here. I mean, our search and rescue team is probably the busiest in the state. Obviously, they don't always end this way, but our team is very busy, and a lot of it is involving hikers in Three Sisters or mountain climbers at Smith Rock, or so
it's not horribly uncommon for somebody to just vanish in Three Sisters then, huh?
No.
Gotcha.
No.
He then went on to relay a case of a hiker who was with a group. He slipped, falling down the side of the hill and out of sight. The others could still speak with them until they heard some shifting rocks, and then everything went silent. In this instance, the search and rescue team were able to recover the hiker's body that had become suddenly buried by shifting rocks, but it demonstrates just how quickly a situation can change. If this hiker had been alone rather than with a group, it's questionable if he would have ever been found. This goes to a comment that it's possible that Corwin was caught in a slide and buried. The officer was able to confirm for me that Corwin was indeed very experienced. He actually called him somewhat of an extreme hiker. His goal, to the officer's understanding, was to hike all 3 trails in one day. This is what he had to say about that.
Like, if you're a hiker that sticks to the main trails, you hike to the top and back down, probably not as likely. But like I said, from everything I've read about this guy was kind of like, his goal was to hike all 3, which means you're moving quickly, and so
right.
Things can happen.
From there, we talked a little about getting information from other agencies and that sort of thing that really didn't impact Corwin's case. Now, I don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't visit this area, or that it's too dangerous. As that officer said, if you take your time, stay on the established trails, you should be fine. My goal is not to scare people away from parks. It is important, though, to know what you're getting into and what the possible dangers are of any given park. I also don't want to make it sound like we definitely know what happened to Corwin. We don't. The case is still open, and it will remain open until more information is found. All we know are the possibilities of what might have happened based on the terrain, other cases in the area, and the opinions of those involved with the case. This officer did not give a definitive opinion on what he believes happened, nor the official stance of the sheriff's office. I want to make that clear. We merely talked about what could have happened. I believe that he had some valuable insight. Corwin is still missing as of the time of this recording. Once again, I'd like to thank my patrons over at patreon.com for their very generous support that allows me to continue making these videos. In particular, I'd like to thank those of the public recognition tier, which include the anonymous user, you know who you are, thank you, as well as Nigel B. So thank you, patrons, and thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.